What would you say if a cop tapped your car hood right now and your heart started pounding? If your first sentence is wrong, you can make yourself look dangerous before the stop even begins. One nervous move can turn a basic ticket into a full-blown roadside investigation. Hit subscribe right now because what I'm about to show you could keep you out of handcuffs during your next stops. Smash like so you can find this again fast when those lights hit your mirror. Here's what you're about to learn. The first sentence you should say the second that officer reaches your car. The one question that tells you whether the stop is over or the fishing trip is starting. The one line that can shut down a consent search before you talk yourself into trouble. And the mistake almost every driver makes when they hear that tap and start panicking. Most people have no idea that the first 10 seconds of a stop can shape everything that happens next. I've analyzed over 200 body cam videos and you see the same bad pattern over and over. Drivers start digging for papers too early. They start explaining things nobody asked. They joke. They argue. They move too fast. And then the officer's whole mood changes. You do not need to sound clever. You do not need to sound innocent. You need to sound calm, safe, and hard to twist. Now let's talk about why that tap matters to you. The second you hear it, your brain tells you something serious is happening. You may not even know why the officer touched your car. That part does not matter as much as people think. What matters is what you do next. Your window is down, the officer is walking up, your hands, your words, and your timing are now everything. Here's the reality. Most drivers make the stop worse by trying to look helpful too early. They reach for the glove box, they lean toward the console, they start blurting out excuses. To you, that feels normal. To the officer, that can look like hiding, grabbing, or preparing a lie. That is why you need a script before you ever need one. When you know your first line, you stop reacting and start controlling the moment. Let me show you exactly how that works in real life. The first thing you say after that tap is not an excuse. It is not a joke. It is not, "What did I do?" Here's exactly what you say. "Officer, my hands are visible. Please tell me before you want me to reach for anything." Word for word. Memorize that line. That is your title line. That is your first move. That is the sentence that helps you look calm, safe, and cooperative without giving away anything extra. Why does this work so well for you? Because traffic stops are built around safety. Police guidance in places like Rhode Island, Texas, and Oklahoma City tells drivers to keep their hands visible, stay in the car, and tell the officer before reaching for documents. So when you say that line, you are doing three smart things at once. You are showing the officer your hands are not a threat. You are stopping yourself from making a sudden move that can be misread, and you are making the officer give clear instructions before your body moves around the car. Former police officers have confirmed this works because it lowers tension right away. Bad way. Most drivers say, "Hang on, let me get my license." Then they start digging near the seat or glove box, and the officer gets suspicious fast. Good way. Smart drivers say, "Officer, my hands are visible. Please tell me before you want me to reach for anything." Then the officer knows exactly what you're doing and why. Watch what happens when you skip this line. You reach down. The officer snaps, "Stop reaching." Now the whole stop feels dangerous. Backup may come, commands get louder, your body gets tighter, you start talking more. That is how a normal stop gets ugly for no good reason. But watch what happens when you use the line. Your words slow the moment down. The officer usually tells you exactly what to do. Maybe keep your hands on the wheel. Maybe hand over your license. Maybe wait. Either way, you just made the stop more controlled. This matters even more if you are nervous, tired, or driving at night. When people are scared, they move first and think later. That is exactly backwards. You want your words to move first, your hands move second. That is why defense attorneys use this exact line in court. It shows you were trying to be safe, not sneaky. If body cam later gets reviewed, your first sentence helps tell the story that you were calm and cooperative from the start. And if the officer asks why you are acting that way, keep it simple. You can say, "I want to make sure I follow your instructions safely." That's it. No long speech, no attitude, no weird laughter. You are not there to win personality points. You are there to get through the stop with as little damage as possible. This is where many drivers blow it by trying to sound friendly with too many words. They say, "I was just reaching because I know how cops get nervous and I wasn't doing anything and my registration is buried under my gym stuff." That speech gives the officer more things to notice, question, or remember. Your power comes from short lines, clean lines, repeatable lines. This is 100% legal. You are allowed to keep your hands visible and ask for clear instructions before reaching. Think you could stay this calm during a real stop? Let me know in the comments. Now let's move to the second line you need once the basic traffic part starts wrapping up. A lot of you think the danger is over when the officer takes your license and comes back. That is often when the real danger starts, because now the stop can drift. The officer may start asking where you came from, where you are going, whose car this is, why you look nervous, whether there is anything illegal inside, whether they can take a quick look. Here's the trick they don't want you knowing. The stop does not get to last forever just because the officer feels curious. Here's exactly what you say. Officer, if the traffic stop is finished, am I free to leave? Those exact words. Keep them calm, keep them short, keep your voice normal. Why is this line so strong for you? Because time matters during a stop. The Supreme Court said in Rodriguez versus United States that police cannot stretch a traffic stop longer than needed just to do unrelated investigation work unless they have a separate real reason. In plain English, they cannot keep you there just to go fishing if the traffic mission is done. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. That means your question does something powerful. It makes the moment clear. Either the stop is over and you go, or the officer says no, and now there is a cleaner line between a ticket stop and extra detention. Bad way, most drivers say, yeah, I'm just heading back from my friend's place after grabbing food and I'm tired. Then the officer gets fresh details to probe and the stop grows. Good way. Smart drivers say, officer, if the traffic stop is finished, am I free to leave? Then the officer has to deal with one clean question instead of your whole life story. Here's the reality. Most drivers think silence looks guilty. It does not. Rambling looks worse. The more you talk, the more little pieces you hand over. Your schedule, your tone, your confusion, your contradictions. If the officer asks a basic traffic question tied to the stop, handle it. But when the stop starts turning into a casual interview, your best move is to stay respectful and ask the key question. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection when the traffic part should already be ending. Let me show you exactly why this matters. Say the officer gives back your license and says, hey, before you go, mind if I ask a couple questions? A lot of drivers think they have to be polite and stay. They do not realize that those quick questions can lead straight to a search request, a dog, or a longer detention. Your question forces clarity. If the answer is yes, leave. If the answer is no, do not argue. Just stay calm, stop volunteering, and remember what comes next. This line also helps you later if the stop ends up in court. If your lawyer needs to show when the traffic job ended and the fishing trip began, your question can help mark that moment. That is why it is so useful. It is polite on the surface, but it also protects your timeline. And keep this in mind. You are not asking for permission to use your rights. You are asking for your status. That is a huge difference. Your tone should sound calm, not challenging. You are not saying, you can't do this. You are saying, tell me where I stand. And that is smart. That is controlled. That is hard to twist later. The third line is the one that stops so many people from talking themselves into a search. If the officer asks to look in your car, do not debate, do not laugh, do not say you have nothing to hide. Do not try to sound innocent. Here's exactly what you say. Officer, I do not consent to any searches. Word for word. Memorize that line, then stop talking. Listen closely because this is critical. A lot of people think refusing a search makes them look guilty. That fear is exactly why people give consent they never had to give. Once you say yes, you may have just made the search much easier. The Supreme Court has long treated consent as a major exception to the normal warrant rule. In plain English, if you agree, the officer may not need a warrant at all. That is the big lesson from Schneckloth versus Bustamonte. Your yes has power. Your no has power too. Bad way. Most drivers say, go ahead, I've got nothing to hide. Then they open the door to a search that might never have happened without their consent. Good way. Smart drivers say, officer, I do not consent to any searches. Then the officer has to rely on real legal grounds, not your fear. Now let's be smart and honest about this. Refusing consent does not mean the search always stops. If the officer already has legal cause, the search may still happen. Do not resist. Do not grab the door. Do not pull away. Your move is verbal, not physical. You make the record. You stay safe. If the search was not lawful, your clean refusal may matter later in court. Watch what happens when drivers panic after refusing. They start adding extra lines that wreck the whole thing. You can search the trunk, just not the bag. There's nothing in there except my cousin's stuff. I mean, not anymore. That is a gift to the officer. You do not need to decorate your refusal. Say the line once. If asked again, repeat it the same way. Officer, I do not consent to any searches. Then stop. And yes, this is 100% legal. You are allowed to refuse consent. Texas driver guidance even says you may grant or deny a request to search, even though an officer may still search if there is separate legal cause. That is the whole point. You are refusing to volunteer the search. You are making the law do the work instead of doing it for them. This line also protects you from the fake casual ask. Some officers do not say, may I search your car? They say, you don't mind if I take a quick look, right? Same issue, same answer. Officer, I do not consent to any searches. They may try again with a softer tone. Use the same line. They may act offended. Use the same line. Your consistency matters. Most people already clicked away. If you're still here, you're in the top 10%. Drop a comment saying, I'm still here. Now let's cover the fourth move because a lot of you save the wrong fight for the wrong moment. If the officer tells you to step out, you do not turn that into a showdown on the roadside. Here's exactly what you say. I will comply. I choose to remain silent and I do not consent to searches. Those exact words. Then you step out slowly, keep your hands visible, and follow physical instructions. Why do you comply here? Because the law gives officers a lot of room on that specific command. In Pennsylvania versus Mimms, the Supreme Court said an officer can order a driver out of the car during a lawful traffic stop for safety reasons. In plain English, you usually do not win by refusing to get out. You win by getting out calmly while keeping your mouth under control and your consent off the table. Bad way. Most drivers say, no, I know my rights, I'm not getting out. Then the stop gets louder, hotter, and more physical. Good way. Smart drivers say, I will comply, I choose to remain silent, and I do not consent to searches. Then they protect themselves without creating a roadside wrestling match. Your silence matters here because roadside pressure makes people say stupid things. Once you are outside the car, the officer may start asking more questions. Whose car is this? Have you been drinking? Is there anything illegal inside? Why are you shaking? Do not fill that silence with fear. If you are required to identify yourself or follow safety commands, do that. But outside of that, keep your words tight. Short, calm, controlled. This line is powerful because it separates physical compliance from verbal surrender. You are not resisting. You are not escalating. You are also not helping build the case with your own mouth. That is a huge difference. Too many drivers think rights only count if they fight in the moment. No, rights work best when you use them with discipline. And one more thing. If you are going to record, do it in a way that does not interfere. Do not wave the phone around like a weapon. Do not shove it in anyone's face. If it is already mounted or can record hands-free, great. If not, your safest move may still be to keep your hands visible and follow commands first. Your script comes before your speech comes before your opinions. Now let's pull the legal picture together so you know why these lines fit. Rodriguez versus United States says police cannot extend a traffic stop beyond the time needed for the traffic mission just to do unrelated investigation work unless they have a separate valid reason. In simple words, a ticket stop is not supposed to become a fishing trip just because they feel like it. Schneckloth versus Bustamonte says consent can make a search valid even without a warrant if that consent was voluntary. In simple words, your yes can open the door wider than you think. Pennsylvania versus Mimms says an officer can order you out of the car during a lawful stop for safety reasons. In simple words, save your fight for your words, not your feet. Those three cases match the three biggest moments in your stop: time, consent, physical commands. When you know those three zones, you stop reacting blindly and start protecting yourself on purpose. Now picture the whole thing in real life. You are driving home late, lights come on behind you, you pull over, the officer taps your hood as he walks up. The wrong version starts fast. You start digging for your wallet before he even gets to the window. He sees movement and barks at you to stop. You panic and say, I was just getting my stuff, I didn't do anything, I'm coming from my friend's place. He takes your license, comes back, keeps asking questions, and you answer every one. Then he says, you don't mind if I take a quick look? You say, sure. Now your simple stop is no longer simple. Now the right way. The officer approaches and you keep your hands visible. Your first line is, Officer, my hands are visible. Please tell me before you want me to reach for anything. He tells you when to get your documents. You move only when told. You do not ramble. When the traffic part seems done, you ask, Officer, if the traffic stop is finished, am I free to leave? If he asks to search, you say, Officer, I do not consent to any searches. If he orders you out, you say, I will comply. I choose to remain silent and I do not consent to searches. Same road, same stop. Totally different outcome. One version feeds the stop, the other version controls it. Coming next week, what to do when cops ask to search your phone. Subscribe because that video could save your whole private life from getting opened up. So here's your quick lock-in. Your first job is to make your hands and your words look safe. Your second job is to stop the stop from quietly stretching into something bigger. Your third job is to never volunteer a search with a scared yes. And your fourth job is to comply with physical orders while keeping your mouth disciplined. When you do those four things, you give yourself a much better shot at driving away with less damage and less drama. Hit subscribe so you catch the phone search video before you need it. Smash that like button if this script changed how you'll handle your next stop. And drop a comment telling me which exact line you're going to memorize first. Stay safe out there.